Hello. Hello there. My name is Mr. J3T, aka Big Sexy, aka the Kentucky Cannon, aka the World Class Badass, aka Chocolate Thunder with a Peanut Butter Swirl, aka Bite Lightning with a Peanut Butter Filling, aka the Spooky Man. The Spooky Man. Because today we are continuing the whole theme with villains. And today is a very, very special villain because in honor of the Invincible trailer being dropped this week, I'm going to be talking about one of my personal favorite villains from the comic. Wow. This is bringing back a lot of memories. Today we are going to be talking about this guy right here, Conquest. So, Conquest is a member of the Viltrumite race. The Viltrumites are this warrior race that basically go to other planets and seize them, basically. And if the planets comply, the Viltrumites will then share their technology with that planet, but under their rule. But if the planet's inhabitants doesn't comply, then they'll basically wipe them out. The Viltrumites will basically wipe that entire planet species out. So, Conquest is this big, powerful, extremely powerful Viltrumite. He has super strength, super speed, durability, and fun fact, Viltrumites have extremely dominant genes. So if he ever has an offspring, like, the Viltrumite genes will override the other species' genes, and they'll basically become a Viltrumite themselves. That offspring will. So yeah, if he ever wanted to, he could pop some babies out and have little Viltrumite babies. So as you can see from here, his right arm, it's a robot arm. That's because after a plague hit the Viltrumites called the Scourge virus, this left him vulnerable. Basically, I guess I should explain the Scourge virus. The Scourge virus is basically a virus that severely weakens a Viltrumite. It either weakens a Viltrumite or it kills a Viltrumite. So, Conquest was exposed to this virus. He survived, but this left him weak. So, he went to a planet called the Ragnar, I believe, which are these dinosaur-like monsters who have the ability to take on a Viltrumite, and in the process, he lost his arm and his left eye got scarred. But despite that, he is still one of the baddest mother effers in this comic. One of the baddest dudes in this comic. And he's still in his physical prime, even though he's an old man, because Viltrumites can live for thousands of years. So even though he is old, he's still in his physical prime. So Conquest first made its debut after an event in the Invincible comic called the Invincible War, where a villain by the name of Dr. Auguststorm, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I never really did pronounce his name right. I think I'm saying it right. Auguststorm, who has the ability to travel through dimensions, brings back evil alternate versions of Mark Grayson and Invincible to the main Earth, the main dimension, and basically wreaks havoc. Hence havoc. Hence the name The Invincible War. So everything is just destroyed, right? Everything is destroyed. People are dead. And Mark, Invincible, he's feeling down. The last thing he needs, though, is this guy this big dude coming down and saying, like, look, Conquest is basically there to evaluate Mark's progress in taking over Earth. He's basically there to evaluate. And, yeah, Mark isn't having any of it. He isn't putting up with any of Conquest's stuff. He's like, look, I can't deal with you right now. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I can't deal with you right now. But Conquest is like, okay. I'm just going to take it over then. I'm just going to take over everything. I'm basically going to take over your spot. I'm going to tear stuff up, basically. Mark's like, look, I caused all this, okay? I am frustrated. I am pissed. And I really want something to punch. In fact, it's a good thing that you're here. I'm going to punch you. And Conquest is like, oh, word? Word? Okay, then. And they proceed to have one of the craziest, bloodiest fights in comic book history. One of my personal favorite fights. Actually, I think this is, like, my favorite fight from the Invincible series, because it's just so bloody, so gory, and, this really shows you Invincible's Mark Grayson's will to fight, because Mark gets messed up during this fight. Like, completely and utterly messed up. Conquest is, like, in a whole other league than Mark. Because, don't get me wrong, Mark is still strong. He still puts up a fight. But Conquest is pretty much shaking off every blow. Like, he's shaking off everything. It goes into space at one point. They're fighting up into space. Viltrumites, they can't breathe in outer space, but they can hold their breath up to 2 weeks. So, yes, they're fighting into space. Conquest just brings him back down to Earth and just levels him with this punch. Levels Mark with this huge, devastating punch. And, yes, Mark is just getting all the way messed up. And the funny part is, Mark instigated the fight. And he's the one that's saying, like, okay, stop, I had enough, okay? just listen, I had enough. Mark's the one saying, okay, I'm done. But Conquest is like, you started it. No, I'm not gonna stop. So they continue to fight. Should I tell you about this character? Nah, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna tell you all about this character. Yeah, I was debating if I should tell you about a character, but I'm not, because I really want you guys to read this comic for yourselves. So, I'm not going to tell you about that character. Yeah, I gotta keep some things as a surprise. So, basically, they continue to fight. Mark's is getting in some shots, and it's basically the same, you know. By the end, this is what Mark looks like. He completely messed up and brutal. Also, I gotta give credit to Ryan Otley, because his art is great. He's really good at showing, you know, people getting beaten up and bruised, and he loves doing that type of stuff. So they fight. They continue to fight. And eventually, Conquest, like, breaks Mark's leg with one chop. And, yeah. I'm only scratching the surface of this fight. You gotta read it for yourselves, because this is truly a brutal, brutal fight. Yeah, and sorry if I'm stammering a little bit. I'm just looking at this comic. It's bringing back a lot of memories. I haven't read this in a while. It's bringing back a lot of memories. I really like how colorful the comic is. But I think that's all I'm going to tell you now. Because, like I said, I want you guys to read this for yourselves. So that's all I'm going to tell you. Anyway, Conquest as a character, we don't know much about him or his backstory. We don't even know his real name because obviously his name isn't Conquest. He didn't pop out the womb with the name Conquest, so we don't even know his real name. But from the time that we see him, he is the baddest dude ever. He is like by far Mark's most toughest opponent yet because Conquest just beats Mark all around the world, and he's shown to be on a completely other level than Mark. The only real weakness that we see of him is that these Viltrumites, their ears are sensitive, right? So if somebody knocks their ears together, it will however you say that. It'll it'll mess them up. Oh my god. It'll mess them up, basically. It'll mess a Viltrumite up if you, like, ear clap a Viltrumite. That's the only real weakness that he seems to have. So, Conquest as a villain is very, very scary because he is super tough and super strong, and he doesn't care about anything. He just wants to kill. Like, he loves to kill. It doesn't matter who. He is just a bad, bad dude. And he's personally one of my favorite villains in this comic, mainly to do with the fact that Mark Grayson himself, he gets a costume change. He gets this awesome blue and black variation of his classic costume. I like that costume. Conquest as a villain is a great villain, and the fight is crazy. The fight that they have is just super crazy. This really is one of, like, my favorite fight in the Invincible series, and Conquest is one of my personal favorite villains of the Invincible series because he's just such a bad dude. And he is just so OP, smacks Mark around. Of course, Mark still puts up a fight, but it's not much, basically. So, yes, that's Conquest as a whole. There's a reason that I'm not talking about him as a character because we really don't know that much about him. We don't know much about his backstory. We just know that he's a guy that loves to kill and fight, basically. That's all we really know. But besides that, he's still one of my favorite villains. But he's not my most favorite, okay? Because this is a two-part series. This is going to be a two-part episode because next weekend, we're talking about the main bad of Invincible, and that's Thrag, or Throg. Thrag. I call him Thrag. So, yes, we're going to be talking about the main villain of Invincible, Thrag. And if you guys think that Conquest was bad, Thrag, though, Thrag is on a whole other level than Conquest. Thrag is just, oof. You'll see next weekend. But overall, Thrag, he's a great villain, or he's in part of one of my favorite fight scenes in Invincible, and overall, he's a good villain, he's good. Sorry that if this video was all over the place, it's just that, again, we don't know much about Conquest as a character, we don't know his backstory or anything, and I'm flipping through the comic, and it's bringing back a lot of memories. Like, wow. I forgot how pretty it looks. I forgot how beautiful it looks. The colors are very bright, very vibrant, and this is around the time, like, Ryan Ottley upgraded his art, and this is where he really became, like, a great, great artist. Not like Ryan Ottley's art was bad before, but he upgraded immensely because this is great art. Wow. Wow. Brings back a lot of memories. Anyway, that's about it. Next weekend, we're going to be talking about Thrag, so stay tuned for that. Villains Month is continuing, okay? But by now, with with earlier this week with my reaction video, I stepped out of the dark side a little bit, but now I'm firmly back in the dark side. I just got my apartment. I'm in the process of getting furniture and food and all that. It's pretty dark in the dark side, you know? It's pretty dark. I have to get a lot of lights, but it's comfy, you know? It's comfy. Yeah. Next week, Thrag, or next weekend, I should say, we're going to be talking about Thrag, so get hyped for that. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. But guys, I'm saying, if you really, really like me, though, consider subscribing, because I'd really appreciate it, you know? And plus, it's free. Why not? Deuces.